threat of disaster is never pleasant.
Welcome to the Casual Preppers podcast.
These safety measures are essential.
The only place for prepping, survival, and entertainment.
This will be your source of survival instructions and information. Every member of the family must be coached in the business of survival.
Here are your hosts, Cam and Kobe.
Got it.
Got hair floating around
and stuff in the studio. We got it. Cam, welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Back to basics. Back at it.
Back at the pack.
Back to yep. And today is it's an episode that's near and dear to my heart.
Yeah, it's like Kobe's favorite. He's been eager to get to this one.
Oh yeah, I've been reading
He's been
over and
planning
over
to get to this one.
That's right. What are we talking about today?
Yeah, so we're going to talk about emergency plans and risk assessment.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. Planning.
Calm down, everybody.
Yeah. Hold on.
Chill out.
I'm getting excited. I got to calm down.
Chill out.
But yeah, planning isn't just about collecting gear. It's about knowing what to do, when to do it, why it matters. That's what we're going to talk about today, because a lot of times we just gather a lot of gear
Stuff.
and we just start, building a huge pile of water and food, and then we don't really have a plan.
Check out my water pile.
I know, it's like not the best word for water.
It worked though.
I just poured in a big pile.
Yeah.
But yeah, so emergency plans and risk assessment is super important, and that's what we're going to go through today.
Absolutely. Before that, though, I got to tell you about BattleBox. It's the monthly subscription
Get that
box
tongue out of the way.
full of solid gear. It's like the back of my throat was fighting me.
Sound like your epiglottis flipping around.
Is that what's the uvula or whatever?
Yeah, maybe that too.
About fell out. It's the monthly subscription box full of solid gear for adventure seekers, survivalists, outdoor enthusiasts, and casual preppers. Each month, BattleBox sends you the coolest selection of hand-picked outdoor survival and everyday carry gear, all valued at far more than what you normally pay. You never know what's in the next box, but here's a sampling of what users received this month. The Prepared Hero Emergency Fire Blanket, the Kelly Kettle Trekker, and all this badassness starts at just $34.99 per month. They've shipped over 1 million boxes and won Best Subscription Box of 2020. Our listeners get 15% off when you sign up at battlebox.com/casualpreppers. Get your first BattleBox plus 15% off at battlebox.com/casualpreppers.
So good.
Get it done, folks.
I love how they just cover all kinds of aspects of prepping.
You do
like a fire blanket.
Yeah,
no one was considering that, but
and if you're
useful.
Cold, you just put it on.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Who knows? They double.
It's awesome.
So let's talk about emergency plans. What is an emergency plan? Let's go right to the definition. Like, what does Webster say about this thing? An emergency plan is a detailed, written strategy outlining what to do before, during, and after a disaster. Sounds good, right? The thing is a lot of times we just have this vague idea in our heads. If it goes down, this is what we're going to do. And that's not always the most efficient thing to do and the most practical. Like, you have to have a plan.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Disasters, you don't know when they're going to come. They don't send you a calendar invite for Friday at 6.
Exactly.
Okay.
I wish it did.
I wish it did, because it would make it much easier.
Yeah.
You don't, so like when something happens, you don't want to be standing around like, what do we do now?
Yeah.
Right?
We were talking about that at work. It's just like people, they get all worked up and they like rush to somebody like in the office, somebody's having like a reaction or something. It's like everybody runs and they're like, I'm not prepared. They don't have a plan. And so it's the same thing with like an emergency.
It's
like, I'm panicking. I don't know what to do.
Yeah. And then you get a whole bunch of people doing that together.
Yeah. And we've seen it many times on the news.
Exactly. So having a solid emergency plan, it cuts down on that panic. It cuts down on the confusion and those bad decisions that happen when adrenaline takes over. It cuts down on those too. Because sometimes, again, like you just said, people just rush to make a decision because they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And like, maybe that wasn't the best thing to do.
Right.
So if you've already thought through those worst case scenarios, you'll react faster.
The house is on fire. We're all right.
Exactly.
Wear the blanket we got from BattleBox.
Put your shoes on. Just walk out the door. Don't slam the door.
Don't get pissed.
Yeah. You don't want that. So there are different types of plans that you might need. Sometimes these are combined, but, a lot of times we just say emergency plan, but there's a bunch of different types of plans that you can look at. One of those is the family evacuation or emergency plan. And this is one like you need to get out Like you need to have how are you going to get out?
Yep.
You know what I mean? Whether it's a fire or a flood or an earthquake or even a chemical spill, when it's time to go, you need to know where you're going and how you're going to get there.
Yeah.
My wife likes to tell me where to go and how to get there all the time.
All the time.
Yeah. There's also a communication plan. Like if the cell towers are down, networks are jamming or whatever, this is how you going to get in touch with your family.
Yeah.
And
It's always
again,
the thing that makes me the most like
It is to me,
worried.
too.
Is like, what if I can't get a hold of anybody?
And like we
my
talk-
wife never picks up her phone.
oh my gosh.
So
I'll text my wife and it's like a month later, it's like, yeah, I'm coming home. Well, that was in January. You've already been home 10 times.
yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, that does
Or you'll ask
freak
a
me
question, then you get like do these look very good on? You're like, wait a minute, you didn't answer my question.
out. Yeah, hey, we're on my thing.
Communication, we need to go over this plan.
We do need a plan. But yeah, that's a big thing. You also have the shelter in place plan. We talked about this a bunch of episodes ago, but not every disaster requires you to get out. Sometimes you
Exactly.
really have to just stay put. You know, there's also the get home plan. I think we talked about that the last episode or 2
Yeah.
episodes ago, whatever that was. You also have a bug out plan. But anyways, all of
They're
those
plans.
are plans that you can be looking at. But mostly today we're going to be talking about like a basic family emergency plan because they're very, very important.
Very important.
Yes.
And often never done.
No, yeah, most of the
Right.
time, never
Like
done.
there's parts in here that I'm like, oh gosh.
I need to do this.
Yeah.
This
So-
is, yeah.
To get started with your plan, kind of the first step is conducting a risk assessment and
Yes.
identifying your threats. There's so many things that could go wrong, and
Yeah.
there's so many things when you get into prepping. You're like, well, what if the volcano goes off? And it's like,
Well, if the earth stops spinning.
yeah, we get like we go over the top and like try to
Yeah.
prepare for what if the pole switch tomorrow?
I know. You're really like you do think about those things because they feel the scariest almost because
Yeah.
they're like, oh gosh, I don't even know what I would do.
Exactly.
Don't worry about
And
it.
we've used those things to
We have.
make this podcast work.
Yeah,
So
we-
because all the other stuff's super boring.
It is, and here we are today talking about emergency
We're going to
plans.
talk about the boring stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's just so many things that it's overwhelming to get started with the plan. But listen, it's important to make a plan because you can't prepare for everything. So we're going to talk to you about how to make it how to break it down to make it most
Break it
simple
down.
and applicable to you. So often preppers start out, they get a little freaked out, like we were saying, and they try to like put all this together for multiple scenarios.
Sure.
Don't do that, okay?
No.
You know, it's like get my bullets for zombies, and then the bunker for the asteroids. I'm gonna get holy water tomorrow for vampires, and
Yeah.
then a snorkel to filter the volcano soot.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's
tough.
overwhelming.
Most likely none of those are happening.
So, to conduct a risk assessment, it will help you develop your plan. So, first, identify the threats and risks that are applicable to you and where you live. For one, most important is like your location. What's the most likely thing that's going to happen where you live? What kind of natural disasters? What kind of human-caused threats? Probably the same as what people think are natural disasters, but it's actually somebody just starting a fire out in the
true.
backyard
It is true.
or on the side of the road.
Yeah, that's huge because, man, if you live in Florida, obviously you need to worry about volcanoes, not blizzards. Okay, but if you're in Utah, you might have to think about earthquakes. If you're in California, it's earthquakes and wildfires,
Yeah.
Democrats. And then if you're in, you know what I mean? So,
Oh,
whoa, hey, now.
why is this podcast so
I
political?
I love all the Democrats. I love everybody, okay?
But we don't love
We
them
hate
as
everybody.
much. Just kidding.
We hate everybody equally.
I agree with that. I
Okay.
agree with that.
Yes, sir.
We'll make fun of everyone.
Yeah,
So,
we will. Republicans are dumb.
yeah, so location helps a ton because you
Yeah.
can base it off from that. It's like we live in the middle of the desert. So wildfires, dust storms, and earthquakes. Those are like
Earthquakes.
probably our biggest ones. Well, flooding too.
Blizzards.
Blizzard. Yeah, we have a lot in Utah.
Yeah,
So,
we got everything over
but
here.
that helps you to kind of structure a plan
Yeah.
based on the most likely things. And then the next is like personal situation. What kind of health issues might your family have that could cause a lot of problems for you?
Ew, yeah.
Family size. How many people are you preparing for?
You need to cull that size. You need to get rid of a few.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then financial stability. Like where are you
Oh.
at with that and how likely is it that you could possibly lose your job?
Highly likely.
Yeah, everyone.
Did you listen? Have you listened to this podcast?
This is our fallback. So please
No,
keep subscribing.
This is actually my job.
yeah. Yeah, true.
So like, who knows?
Yeah, so if you don't subscribe, you're hurting everyone.
You hurt me.
Yeah. So, and then lifestyle risks. Do you have a long
Yeah.
commute? And we talked about that just recently about get home bags. And then high risk jobs, like do you travel into locations that are going to be harder to get back or more risky? Things could happen. If you're flying anymore recently,
Dude,
like there's a good chance.
I've been trying to figure out what's going on.
I don't know.
Does it make any sense to you?
Yeah. It's super weird.
Like, I don't ever remember hearing about, like, plane disasters.
Me either.
For, like, years. It's like, oh, yeah, you just go out on a plane and you're safe as can be.
Yeah, and it's just like every week
now. It's like, I ain't getting on a plane.
I know.
And then
I saw some videos of people, like, when they land, they're like they're all like completely sweaty. They're all.
It's funny because my daughters have been seeing all these videos too. And then this last weekend we watched Final Destination. You remember that one?
Yeah, it blows up
like,
in
I'm
the
never
sky.
getting in a plane again. I'm
Seriously.
like, oh crap, what did I do?
I actually remember that too, thinking like, if there's someone that gets all nervous on a plane, I'm getting off.
Yeah, I'm just
like,
watching everybody.
I've seen the movie. I'm off.
I don't know how Devin Sawa did this. All right.
It's going underneath the seats. It's going to blow us up in order.
Yep.
But yeah, so that helps if you got anything out of that. Location, personal situation, and lifestyle risks. You know, those are the things you kind of look at.
Yeah.
And then second, analyze how each of these risks are likely to happen. Natural disasters in your area, like we talked about, and then car breaking down. How old is your car? Like, how often do you commute with it, and is it like it's on its way out? Like, it's more likely it's going to break down. Then you have to kind of prepare for that.
Yeah.
Of like, I need a plan for getting a new car or walking home. So one
or
of
new
the two.
boots.
Yeah.
One of the two.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then third, prioritize your preps. Focus on the high probability threats first. Like I was saying, you know, zombies probably aren't going to attack anytime soon. So prepare for the flood in your area or, you know, an earthquake or something like that.
Yeah, you got to rank those
But
in order.
most likely, the most common stuff is like your everyday stuff, like losing a job, health risks, and so. And then the types of threats to consider. A little more in detail on these, like natural disasters, earthquakes, floods, tornadoes, hurricanes. Do you live on the coast? Watch out for tsunami and earthquakes. Do you live in the forest? Watch out for wildfire, Bigfoot. And so that it really does kind of help you break down your plan based on those things. Okay, kids, this place might burn down. What do we do?
Okay, kids.
Yeah. And then what other results could happen from these things? An earthquake, okay, then you're dealing with grid down, power outages. Is it in the middle of the winter?
Yeah.
So you kind of like break down more details.
Like the domino effect. Once it happens, what's the next deal?
Yeah. So that kind of helps you to structure a plan based on where you live, what the disaster could be, what are the, you know, what's the sequel from that.
I just love doing this risk assessment. I think this is the first thing they should do when they start prepping.
Yeah. It's the only way you could really, like, you just get overwhelmed otherwise.
Yeah. It's like, okay, now I'm going to take the top 3 and I'm going to mitigate those risks first.
Because if you listen to the news, everything's a risk.
Everything's a risk.
So you got to break it down.
Yeah. Break it down.
And then there's other, like if you live in the city, civil unrest, home invasions, active shooter situations, like that's a little different, but that, I mean, you got to think about that based on where you live.
Yeah.
If you live more rural, then you're dealing with like power outages, water line interruptions and stuff like that. So it just, you've got to consider those things to when you're breaking down and creating your first plan. And also, and like we've been talking of bugging out and get home bags, like that all gets incorporated into this plan based on where you live and travel and all that. So, and then probably the most important thing of all of this is consider your personal crises that could happen, your personal apocalypse. Like I said, there's all that stuff that could happen, but realistically, the most common stuff for everybody is job loss, financial crisis, medical emergencies, vehicle breakdowns. Those are the most likely things to happen. So,
or even
if you're
things
going to
like
start your plan,
power outage.
Yeah.
Like that should be a part of this risk assessment.
Yeah. Start with those things
Yeah.
because by far the most likely to happen rather than the earthquake that they've been talking about for ever. It's probably going to happen at some point.
Eventually.
But start with the things that are that could happen next month, you know. And you know that. So
exactly.
But anyway, there you go.
That's good stuff. Hey guys, if you didn't know, electrolyte deficiency or imbalances, they can cause headaches, cramps, fatigue, weakness. And as people who want to be prepared and ready for anything, the last thing you need is something that will slow you down when you need to be ready the most. That's why we at Casual Preppers have teamed up with Element. Element is a tasty electrolyte drink mix with everything you need and nothing that you don't. We think Element is perfect for bug-out bags and EDC kits because it contains a science-backed electrolyte ratio, 1,000 milligrams of sodium, sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, and 60 milligrams of magnesium. Casual Preppers listeners can get a free sample pack when you make any purchase through our exclusive Casual Preppers link. That is one packet of every flavor. And they also offer a no questions asked refunds on all orders. Just like send it back.
That's the best.
You can have it. It's perfect.
I don't want to talk to anybody else who wants to send it back.
Just send it back. That's all I want. And then
You won't, though.
you won't. No. You can get it the first time you order, the second time, the 100th time. You can get this free. But you got to use our link. And the link is drinklmnt.com/casualpreppers. Get your order and your free sample pack with any purchase at drinkelement.com/casualpreppers.
Stop wasting time. Just go get it.
Go get hydrated, dummies.
Yeah.
Go do it.
Get that headache to go away.
Exactly. So let's talk about how to build one of these plans that actually works when you need it.
You got your risks now.
Yeah. You got your risks.
now you
Now
can
you
start.
know. Number one thing, dude, go to get yourself a Mad Gear Code
Seriously.
planner. These things
That's
are
a great
awesome.
one.
They're awesome. They're sexy, and it's going to make your life so much easier. If I'm going to tell you where to go, that's where I'm going to tell you to go first. You're going to use our code.
Second, I'll tell you where to go.
I'm going to tell you how to get there. But go get a Mad Gear Code planner. And that's like your top tier option if you're going for emergency plans. But you can find free plans on the interwebs, okay? You go to redcross.org. They've got plans
That's
there.
a great one. That's the first one I filled out.
It is for me too. But there's a whole bunch of different ones. You just search it out and you'll find it. The free ones aren't as good as like the Mad Gear Co. planners, but they're going to work.
Yeah.
Okay? So you can go do that. So some of the things you need to do inside of this plan. Number one, when and how to evacuate. Your house is on fire. You don't want to sit on the couch. Weigh the pros and cons of where and how to get out.
It's getting hard to breathe.
Okay, so I got smoke in my lungs.
Eyes hurt and burn. What am I going to do?
My daughter's on fire. What should I do?
Go get that plan downstairs.
Yeah.
We haven't looked at it.
No, you. This is something you need to lay out in your plan so beforehand you know where you're going. And the same goes for like floods and chemical spills and anything else that makes staying in your home a bad idea. So in this plan, you're going to talk about where you're going to go.
Yeah.
So you're going to have a local meeting spot outside of your house. It's going to be somewhere close, and this might be a neighbor's house or like a landmark. And so we have across the street from us is where like our mailbox is. It's like, okay, that's where our first meeting spot is, right? But you also need to expand that. You need to have one right outside your home, but you probably need to have one away from your home a little bit too. Like, what if all 6 houses around you are on fire?
Yeah.
You don't want to just be cooking out in the middle of the street.
Yeah.
So we also have one that's like, okay, where the bus stop is on the outside of the neighborhood is our next spot. But then you also have to have like an out of area meeting spot if your whole town is affected, and you know what I mean? So you need to have these contingencies depending on what disaster hits where you're going to meet, right? Very, very important.
It is very important.
Also, what are you going to take with you? And that's things like bug out bags. Obviously, we've talked about bug out bags a million times. Those are very important documents, whether those be like IDs, insurance papers, and cash, and birth certificates, passports, all that kind of stuff. Medications.
Yeah. That's where it's important, like having that stuff in one spot.
Yes.
Like in like a safe that's fireproof.
Yeah.
It's like, then you can just grab it
And
go.
also having it written down, because in a moment of panic, you might forget some of this stuff.
Right.
And we're going to talk about this later, but having a physical copy of this and a digital copy of this, where if you took 30 seconds to look it over.
If you're like, I can't go get that stuff.
Yeah.
I have a backup.
Yeah, but also you know what you need to get.
Yeah.
Like you'll forget, right? So you can like go over that and say, okay, I need this and this and this. Okay, run. Let's do it. And then who's going to do what? Like who's going to grab the cat when you're running out? Who's going to get the emergency
Nobody.
kits? No, probably not. Make sure that everybody knows their role on the way out of the house or whatever, and make that part of your plan so that everybody understands that.
Yeah.
Also, if you can, practice really does make perfect on this. Drills do matter.
So burn your house down.
Burn
so
your
that
house
the kids
down.
know
Rebuild it.
just
do it again.
how to do it.
Okay, yeah. So, but run through your escape routes. You know, you can like time yourself, get into the car. Maybe the kids would think that was fun.
Yeah.
But it's actually kind of useful. You know, try an unannounced drill at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
throw water on them. So the
Have
house
your
is flooded.
wife's outside with a hose. Flash flood.
That's right.
Spraying them.
Yep,
See
exactly.
how focused they stay.
Exactly. So those are things that you can do. But with all of these things, when you're doing this piece of it, you need to take into consideration that you may not be at home when disaster strikes.
Yeah.
And probably not
Most
going to
likely.
be. Yeah. So, you might be at work, your kids might be at school. So you're going to need to consider your workplace emergency protocols within this plan, as well as your kids' school emergency plans. It gets so technical and difficult when you start to split everybody up.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so
Different
hard.
schools and stuff.
Yeah, and like, are they going to walk home?
Yeah.
Are they going to wait there for you? What if you can't get in touch with them? You have to lay out all these
I need to go over that
contingencies.
again.
Oh, me too.
My kids are dumb. They don't remember anything.
All kids are dumb, not just yours. It's every one of them. And then within this, you have a communication plan, right? Who are you going to call? It's always Ghostbusters. But you could do, like, what are those immediate contacts? Family, close friends, neighbors. Then you're going to have backup contacts beyond that. Someone out of state, maybe, who can relay messages if stuff's going on.
Post on Instagram first.
Yeah, 100%.
Then
I'm going to make a TikTok, get it out.
Then
to
I'll
the
call my parents.
Interway.
No.
First, my socials need to know what's happening. And then emergency services, the local authorities, Red Cross and other relief organizations.
Guys, I'm in a fire right now. Can't get a hold of my family.
Well,
I haven't tried.
Speaking of those plane crashes, like that guy that
Oh my gosh.
is like
crawling
insane.
out of the airplane.
Yeah.
Upside down. Holy crap.
To have the wherewithal to do that when you're doing it, like, I don't know, man.
I know.
I'm like, am I going
It's
to
like,
die?
put your phone away and get out of the plane.
Get on the damn plane, dude.
You can film when you're out on the ice.
Yeah, but I think he was actually like an extreme sports guy.
He did
film
good.
that
Like,
stuff.
it's actually like
Look great.
great filming. I was like,
F word every other word,
Oh
but it
my
was
gosh.
cool. Anyways, and then also, like, how you gonna call? If the networks jam up, are you gonna do texting? Are you gonna use emergency apps? Maybe that's Zello or some other emergency app you can use. And maybe you're using radios like walkie-talkies, CBs, ham radios, two-ways, all that kind of stuff. That's gonna be part of that plan, right?
Yeah.
And then, like, where to
it's
call
crazy
from.
how like limited kids are in beyond their phone. Like, they don't know how to do anything else, like, communication wise.
No, and
Especially
even
if
that.
like their grandparents and they have a landline. They're
Yeah.
like, what is this?
How do I use this? Or like,
My
flicking it.
mom has this decoration on her room. It's like, no, it's not a decoration. It's an actual phone.
My mom has one of these ancient devices as well.
It's
It's pretty
distressed and repainted, but it looks real nice.
got chalk paint on it, but it's great. There's also like a shelter, when you need to shelter in place. Again, you don't always have to leave, but like, how are you going to secure your home if you're staying in? Like, you're going to lock it down, you're going to seal it up. If the outside air is dangerous, so you have to, you have plastic sheeting and duct tape to seal
Who's the
windows.
taper?
Who's the taper? Who's the
Yeah.
sheeter? Who's going to get out of the way
True,
because
though.
they're always in the way?
You know you're going to be doing this all by yourself.
It's most likely going to be me. Well, and then you're going to like designate a safe room, and the supplies that you might need. Those types of things can be within this plan so that right? And the last thing I want to say about this is make sure everyone has a copy of the plan.
Yeah.
Like, the plan is no good if you can't reference it.
Yep.
And look back on
It's
it.
super easy. Just take a picture of it, send it,
Yes.
put it in PDF form.
Yep.
Yeah.
And also have a hard copy.
Yeah.
Because you need to have both, I think. But
Get in your
anyways,
kid's backpack.
like, if things are happening, and you have 15 seconds to look it up and just look at what your plan was
Yeah.
again, you're going to be so much better off.
Yeah.
It's a good 15 seconds used there. Anyways,
Yeah,
that's some
that's
good
great.
stuff there.
No,
Yeah.
that's a lot of good stuff right there. So, some common mistakes to avoid and lessons learned. Okay. Number 1, no plan at all. It's like the most common
That's a mistake.
is people just don't even make a plan. But yeah, like buying gear, supplies, and all that stuff. It doesn't matter if you don't have a plan to use any of it. The other thing is, like, write it down. Like,
Yeah.
having it in your head isn't enough. It's
Yeah.
like, I got a plan, but only I know it, and I've gone through it with my kids. But if it's not written down, it's not going to stick. You're not going to remember it, nor can you consult it when you're like panicking.
I can't remember anything if I'm panicking.
I can't either, man.
Yeah, it's tough.
Because it's like where my kids like you start getting a little bit.
How many kids do I have? I can't remember. Are they all girls or boys? I don't know.
Seriously,
I remember.
what are their names? Can't
Who
remember.
am I? Where do I live?
Yeah. And that happens.
It does.
So if you don't have it written down, it's not going to stick, and it's
Write
not
all
going to
your
be very
kids
useful.
down on there.
Right, exactly. How many you have?
How many you got? What their names are?
Yeah. All 3 of mine, I can't remember.
Strengths and weaknesses of each. Character sheet for all of them.
Exactly. Okay, which one do I go and save first?
This one has the best gear.
This one's got the most strength, but dumb.
But this one's real intelligent.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
We'll keep those 2 together and balance it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so but it's super important to write down the plan. The next thing is failure to involve your family. Maybe you're the only prepper in your house, but it doesn't mean you can't go over some plans for safety.
For sure.
Because I know a lot of people, I was like, how do I get my family involved? And sometimes it's hard to get them involved in a prepping plan. But
Yeah.
you sit down at dinner every night,
Yeah, sure.
talk about it. It's like,
People sit
kids,
down at
what if
dinner.
our house started on fire tomorrow?
Yeah.
It's a great conversation.
You
One of
pull
my
it out
favorites.
and write it down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you get a lighter, make it realistic, start a piece of paper on fire.
Start the
They'll-
table
it'll-
on fire.
Kids are going to remember that one.
Yeah.
All right, don't get
Burned into their
don't
memory.
Get crazy, okay? Let's think about it.
Finish your meatloaf.
Yeah, it's important.
Mm-hmm.
You're the dumb one, I know. Let me help you.
I'm just actually took your intelligence down 2 notches on your character sheet after saying that
Well, you
stupid
fell
thing.
way down the list. You're the 3rd string child.
The dog is smarter than you at this point.
Yeah. But yeah, failure to involve your family is a big deal. Like, you need to go over plans. And like I said, they don't have to be all involved in prepping. I hope they are, but you can go through a safety, like an emergency plan with them easily. And then the next thing is like focusing on the unlikely, like we were talking about. Maybe you're preparing only for zombies. Don't do just that.
Dude, this is something that a lot of preppers have an issue
They do.
with.
They're like, the government's going to come take my guns, and I'm going to
Government, potato salad.
yeah. I'm going to have a standoff because I have a bunch of guns.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people like that. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, don't just focus on the unlikely. Go through the most likely things, which is going to be, your family crises and then natural disaster, stuff like that. Personal apocalypse is most likely going to be the thing that you need to prepare for, and you need to go over it with your family.
Faux shizzle.
And then the next is ignoring practice drills.
I've done this.
Again, it's kind of hard to like go through this and not look like a crazy weirdo. But you don't have to do it, physically all the time.
No.
You can sit down and talk about it at dinner. Like, what would you do if this happened while you're at school and I'm on vacation without you guys? What's going to happen?
Exactly, yeah.
And so you can go over those things at dinner, and you can talk about them, or family night whenever you want to do it. But practicing it in your mind and like in a scenario with your family is super important. And then you can try and do some of those other scenarios, like camping and stuff is always like I've talked about. Like, what if you get lost? And like, what do you do? And like, we're already out there, and like, how do you do this? And so there's different ways that you can practice this, but it does stick a lot better for you and your family. And the other thing is like, there's even, and I'll talk about this now with the pro tips, is like tabletop exercises.
Sure.
Like we were just talking about.
Yeah.
Is talk through the scenarios with your family. There's even there's a ton of board games that are like survival board games.
There is.
That do like play out some of these scenarios. And like my kids have liked those where it's like you're trying to survive together and you're like going out and like what are the things that could happen. Like it's really fun, and I think it does kind of help prepare their minds a little better.
Sparks conversation.
It does.
Mostly, yeah.
You're dead. Now what, you stupid idiot?
Can't come back from that.
My kids start crying, and it's helpful to build character.
It really is.
But yeah, it helps you. And then reviewing your plans regularly. Like things change, kids go to different schools, and so you need to go over it more often than just like every 5 years.
Every 5 years, yeah.
And then, like you were saying, like one of the most important things is like making an emergency binder with all of your plans, your documents, contacts in one place, both physical and digital. Makes it way easier for everybody to access. Even criminals. It's great.
That's right.
So they know exactly what you're going to do.
Exactly.
But that leads me to this ad.
Dude, it couldn't be any better.
So Mad Gear Co. is redefining preparedness with their Contingency Planner, a must-have tool for anyone serious about being ready or making an emergency plan.
Exactly.
Whether it's a hurricane, power outage, wildfire, or unexpected emergency, this planner is built to help you organize every detail of your plan. This isn't just a notebook. It's a durable step-by-step guide for organizing your emergency plans. From food storage and water supplies to communication strategies and evacuation routes, it ensures nothing is overlooked. Proudly 100% made in America, the Contingency Planner features tough, weather-resistant, right-in-the-rain paper. That stuff's so cool.
It is awesome.
That stands up to water, dirt, and elements. Nothing's going to destroy this.
Hell no.
And with Mad Gear Co. being family and veteran-owned, you're supporting American craftsmanship and values. Isn't that the most important thing, right?
USA.
Be ready for whatever comes your way. Visit madgear.shop to grab your Contingency Planner today. That's MAD Gear Co. Redefining preparedness for when SHTF. Use code Casual Peppers for that discount.
Beautiful.
This is so perfect with this episode.
Exactly. I did want to talk about adapting your emergency plans when things don't go as expected. So no matter how well you plan for stuff, there's going to be some unexpected challenges no matter what. And that's the thing.
Guaranteed.
Guaranteed. A good emergency plan isn't just these very rigid steps. It needs to be flexible. It needs to be kind of a framework that just allows you to adjust as needed, because you will need to adjust. It's not going to be perfect.
Yeah.
Right? The hallway might be on fire and that escape route.
Well, we're done.
Yeah, well, that's what it
the only
said.
plan we had.
We got to walk through fire. You know what I mean? So you have to be able to adapt when those things happen. Most plans assume best case scenarios, but what if the roads are blocked?
Yeah.
What if your bug out location is compromised? Or what if even gear fails on you? You need to be able to have contingencies for that stuff. And whether that's transportation and shelter and communication, all of those things. And so basically instead of just memorizing steps, you know what I mean? Blump, bump, bump, bump.
Yeah.
Bom, 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 boom. Would you say that one time?
Bom, bom, bang.
That's what it was, yeah. You need to be able to train in problem solving so you can adjust on the fly, right?
Yeah.
That's part of being a good prepper, is to be able to do that. And then building in redundancies, whether that's multiple routes to your bug out location, alternative meeting points if the first one isn't safe, backups for whatever critical gear you might need. It's very important to make sure that these plans are adaptable, and you don't stay so rigid that it actually hinders your survival in the end. This is basically, the hope is it's just a framework.
Yeah.
But you need to be adaptable. And if you have that framework, you're going to be able to get through whatever crisis, whatever it throws at you, because of the framework. But don't be so rigid that you walk into fire. Okay,
Exactly.
So you need to be able to sort of be adaptable.
Yeah,
as
for
you
sure.
go.
It's so true though.
It
Some
really
people are just I can't break from this.
It's like Anchorman reading the prompter, right? You need to be able to not say bad things
about San Diego.
About San Diego.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But so recap and takeaways. Know your risks. Prioritize your threats. Plan for what's most likely. And then create your evacuation, communication, and shelter-in-place plans. Involve your family. Write it down. Practice it regularly. Pretty straightforward, right?
Yeah, it's easy.
I hope you got something from this.
I hope so, too.
But listen, we do have a challenge for you.
Yes.
This week, create or review one of your emergency plans. Your evacuation plan, your communication plan, your shelter-in-place.
Many times those are all the same plan.
Do it this week during dinner,
Yeah.
okay? If you eat with your family, that is.
I rarely get to it these days.
Yeah, it feels like that. But identify the weak points, clarify some of the things that kids might not understand. But do it this
You know,
next
it's the
week.
dumb one that's not going to understand it.
Yeah. So you plan around that child.
You got to know. That's got to be a
Everybody,
contingency.
wrap him up, take him
We're
outside
putting
first.
a leash on this one because we don't know what it's going to do.
Yeah. Just keep blowing a horn behind and keep him going. Keep going.
If you hear the horn on the left, you need to turn right.
Just loop him onto your belt.
Yeah.
Have a little rope. Just
Exactly.
follow along. I know you're too dumb.
That's right.
But do it this week,
great.
okay?
Thanks, guys, so much. That is emergency plans. That's risk assessments, and it's very important. I want
It
you
is
to
very
really
important.
listen to today. Go get a Mad Gear Co. planner. Use our code because it's going to really get you further ahead in your preparedness.
Yeah, almost should have been the first episode that we did.
Should have been.
Was the emergency plan.
But we're done.
Guess what?
Is
you
what
can
it
go
is.
back and do it now.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for listening. Make sure you've hit subscribe on your favorite podcast platform, and make sure that you followed us on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and X and everywhere that we are, Reddit, whatever else.
Please do.
Yeah, and
it's all Kobe has.
Yeah, that's all I've got. I did also want to mention something. We get a lot of messages. Like, we get so many messages. And I apologize if I can't get to them all, because it's just one man versus a shit ton of messages. It's not that I'm ignoring you. It's so hard to do.
Yeah.
So we love you. Even if you
The
send
fault's
us,
on me.
even if, well,
Because I'm like, I don't have time.
even if you sent a, if
Kobe
you sent a
does,
message,
he does really good at getting back with most of you.
and we didn't get back to you, it's not because we don't like you. It's because there's too many messages.
Yeah.
It's hard to keep up with. There are a lot. So, and also make sure to go follow us on This Podcast Is a Secret. We got a lot of cool stuff coming out there. We love you guys. Stay survived.